Good morning, Vascular Course. Not an awful lot of correspondence to deal with this week, really. Not that I can remember, anyway. This is 1950s hardware up here, and it's subject to a lot of data loss. So, so far as I can recall, I haven't had an awful lot of correspondence. There's nothing come through, for instance, on the discussion board. What I did have was an interesting inquiry from D, morning D, who asked, would it be possible, given the fact that I'm going on my holidays for the relevant portion of December, would it be possible to hand my work in early? And the answer to that question is, you're darn tootin', it'll be okay for you to hand your work in. You see, that gives several advantages to you. It gives several advantages to me. The advantage to you is that you can go on your holiday with a completely and utterly clear mind, right? And the advantage to me, if you hand work in early, is that I can start the marking process ahead of the tsunami that will hit me on December the 16th. This goes for any of you. If any of you hand your work in, that does me a real favour, because I can portion out my time a little bit easier. You see what I mean? It makes economic sense to me. Then I won't have to deal with a massive big lump of marking all at once on December the 16th. But can't force people. You can encourage people, but you can't force them. So D, feel free, dear. Feel free. Right. So there's not an awful lot to say. Okay, so I can talk about this week's course materials. You will hear me in conversation with Dr. Liz O'Grady in this week's work. This was done in her office, actually, and it's in the middle of a theatre suite, which deals with patients having the type of investigations that she's talking about. So there's a lot of background noise in the recording, and I've got to apologise to you for that. And I think once or twice we get interrupted by somebody over the intercom calling for Dr. So-and-so, and now, some might say that was poor radio quality, but me, on the other hand, I think that kind of gives the presentation a bit of a note of real world. Slip of coffee there. The other thing to say is that I've interviewed one intensive care doctor, intensive care consultant, Simon, and I've also interviewed a vascular surgeon talking about the experience of resecting aneurysms, both acutely and as a listed procedure. When I was an operating theatre nurse, that used to be the one that everybody dreaded. I mean, these people would come, they wouldn't even sort of touch base or in accidents and emergencies. They'd just come running up the corridor to you, and they'd be opened almost before they were anaesthetised properly. And it was a terrifying business to assist in. So I was interested to see what the surgeon said about, this was not as scary for the surgeon, because the surgeon realises that there's really no option, and that this was life-saving or not, and you were doing that last ditch to keep the person going. I never really thought of it that way when I was a nurse. I always thought that, for the surgeon, it would be kind of terrifying. For the rest of the week, with any luck, on the 11th, I'm going to be going over and seeing the very wonderful Martin Fox in Manchester, and I'll have a look at what he's doing. And while I'm there, I'm rather hoping to record a little interview with him, so I can put that in the podiatry bit. Some of the lessons are a bit unbalanced, I feel. For instance, you will notice that there isn't really much in week 7 when it comes. So I need to think about, restocking some bits and I mean, for instance, in this week, there's an awful lot. So maybe what I'll think of doing is shifting some bits around so that the weeks look a bit more even. But, or maybe I'll leave it as it is and give you a bit of a rest on week 7. I don't know. Haven't made my mind up. Look, there's nothing more for me to say yet, but I'm not getting drafts through. I haven't had any drafts through yet, so, time's winged chariot and all that. I'll speak to you soon, everyone. Be good.